Welcome back to Linger Longer with Books. My name's Catherine, and in this week's video I'm going to be chatting through my top reads of 2025. It might be really annoying to some, but I reckon from my crude maths I've picked 6 fiction titles and 1 non-fiction, so that makes a total of 7. I've tried to be really ruthless with going through my Goodreads total of 59 for the year and picking out my absolute standout tip-top reads, my favourite kind of reading experience, and kind of what I've taken away from them. So yeah, 6 fiction and 1 non-fiction. So let's take a look. I am going to chat through the 6 fiction books that I've got here, just in the order that I've grabbed them off my bookshelf. So bear with me, I'm just going to get myself comfy. So first up is Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. Some of you will already be Andy Weir fans. He's written at least 1 other novel called The Martian. I haven't yet read that, but I really enjoyed the film with Matt Damon, I think. And I have heard friends and family raving about how much they have enjoyed Andy's writing. So I thought that I would pick up Project Hail Mary, knowing that it was a film version coming out, I think in spring 2026. But what is this one all about? We have our main protagonist, we have Ryland Grace. He is a school science teacher in America, and he has been selected unexpectedly, and he resists it quite a lot, to go on this kind of once-in-a-lifetime mission to save future mankind. And that's all I will say on that point. But safe to say, the book starts off in a really gripping way with Ryland waking up and his other two crew members in his space shuttle dead. And from there on in, Ryland has to work out what's happened, what his mission is, how long he has been sort of almost comatose or in some sort of deep sleep, and how he's going to survive and achieve what he needs to achieve. He does encounter kind of another, how do we explain Rocky? Rocky is another life force of sorts, doesn't speak English. Ryland and Rocky have to work out a language through which they can communicate. And it's just really gripping, completely different world. And really, I'm so impressed by the way that Andy sort of world builds, and it is all incredibly credible and entertaining and keeps your attention, and it is a real page turner. So that is Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. Next, we have Cecily by Annie Garthwaite. This is my copy with lots of sticky tabs through it. I think that is always a good sign. I think this was a book club pick in my book club earlier on this year, but it's all a bit of a blur, bookish blur, but that's no bad thing. I love historical fiction, so I do naturally lean towards books such as this. Cecily was a novel that I was wanting to get to for a little while. It was first published back in 2021. So yeah, it'd been on my radar. I'd kept seeing its eye-catching cover in shops, and just had to get to it this year. But what is this one all about? It says 1431 is a dangerous time for a woman to be defiant. And it says England has been fighting France for 100 years. At home, power-hungry men within a corrupt government manipulate a weak king and name Cecily's husband, York's loyal duke, as an enemy. As the king's grasp on sanity weakens, plots to destroy York take root. It will take all of Cecily's courage and cunning to save her family. And that is the nub of Cecily. I think in a world, 15th century England, absolutely dominated and ruled by men. Women had very kind of set roles and expectations on them to be pretty, to be quiet, to marry, to have children, to give the men the heirs that they needed for their lines of succession. But this book really brilliantly explores all those different roles of women, how they were aware of their own power, how they used that power against men, as in their roles as wives against one another. Perhaps there was a power play between one sort of prestigious family and another. How Cecily was a mother to her children, how she coped with childbirth and all of those factors around that. And I just loved it. I love the way that Annie writes. You feel totally kind of absorbed in Cecily's world, and it is one that I can highly recommend to you out there if you are a fan of historical fiction and just want to get lost in that time and kind of be thankful that we don't live in a world like that anymore in terms of battlefields in that way, and life expectancy, and yeah, how we have kind of medical care now and all those sorts of things. So highly enjoyed this one. That is Cecily by Annie Garthwaite. We are sticking with the theme of childbirth really in this one. My next pick is Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix. Can you appreciate that shimmer on that lovely cover? This is a bit of a chunky one. This is Grady's latest novel, published back in early 2025. I was lucky enough to go and see Grady speak in the English city of Bath. I think it's a city technically, not a town. And that was incredibly exciting. Really enjoyed going to see Grady because I don't think he travels on tour very much in terms of his books. So that was really lovely experience. But what is this one all about? You may tell from the cover, there is menace, there is darkness, all is not well, and there is witchcraft for wayward girls. So Grady takes us to 1970s America, where we meet a range of different girls. They have all been sent to Wayward House to give birth, with the understanding that their pregnancies which have happened obviously through all sorts of different circumstances, are an inconvenience to themselves and especially their families, and they will not be returning home with their babies, which is incredibly distressing. And all the girls are very different, as we are all unique ourselves. So some of them are more sort of worldly, but they are kind of all incredibly young and daunted by the prospect of not only kind of giving birth, but they've been flung into this kind of house all together, and they have to navigate kind of all sort of who's who and everything that goes with it. But with that said, we have a couple of different protagonists, including 15-year-old Fern, and they make friends with, there is like a mobile library bus that comes to the house because reading is condoned, it is endorsed, it is a positive thing that the girls can get access to. Sort of, you can imagine they are sort of locked down and locked in a lot. They are not to be sort of running around, they are hidden away, they are not to be spoken of. But from that librarian comes witchcraft elements, and it's incredibly engrossing. Grady's books are always really, really unique and original. He has done stacks and stacks of research about the history of witchcraft for this book, as I heard in the talk. But this will sweep you away into a different world again, as I've said with these previous two here. But I really did enjoy this one. It's not easy reading at times. It's a difficult subject matter, as I've said. But a celebration of the girls doing the best that they can in really difficult circumstances, and being there for one another, essentially. So that is Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix. Next up is Gwen and Art Are Not in Love by Lex Croucher. I read this really early on in 2025, so my memory is not as good as it would be for some others here. But this is published by Bloomsbury, and I had seen it in shops and it had caught my eye, and I've just picked this in terms of my top reads for 2025 because it just completely turns I guess historic fables and traditions and tales on its head. We have Gwen and Art, as you would expect, and each of them, they are betrothed, they are engaged to each other for all those family duties that I mentioned before in Cecily. But the course of love does not run smooth or straight for them, no pun intended, because they are gay, and there is lots of humour and warmth and wit around how they both navigate that. They're kind of forced together, but what happens, they're sort of carrying on different relationships outside of their expected marriage. But I really enjoyed this one. I haven't read a book like it, which is why one of the main reasons that I've picked it as one of my top reads. I just whizzed through it. It's probably around 400 odd pages. And again, I just love novels that just you just dive straight into the worlds that the author is depicting. This is really engaging, it's fun, it's light in many parts, it's kind of heartwarming in others. It does pull on your heartstrings in lots of different ways. But yeah, that is Gwen and Art Are Not in Love by Lex Croucher, with all of its golden shimmer. On to the last two fiction picks now. Next for me is One by Sarah Crossan. Again, I read this earlier on, I think the first half of 2025, but it is a book that has stayed with me and I am still recommending to friends and family, which is always the best sign, I think, that there is. So with Sarah's writing, if you're not familiar with Sarah's writing, she writes in short form. So it is not a novel as you would traditionally expect. And each kind of section, if you will, has different headings on it, but it doesn't distract you from the pace and the plot of the overall story. That's one thing that I would say about it. It just makes you turn the pages even faster and get really involved in the story. So what is One all about? One is about conjoined twins, which isn't massively written about, I don't think, or that I haven't seen anyway. And it immediately starts you thinking, kind of, what would go through my mind in that situation? How would I feel? But we meet Grace and Tippy. These are our conjoined twins. And they are navigating all sorts of things every second of their lives, as you would expect. What do they want to wear? Who do they want to date? They're teenagers, but they are their own people. They have their separate brains, but a conjoined body, and it's incredibly powerful. It does kind of come to a bit of a climax where Grace and Tippy need surgery, life-saving surgery in many ways. And how they face that, how their parents face that. Their dad doesn't cope very well with their situation throughout the story, which is sad in its own way. And yeah, like I said, it just makes you think, gosh, what would I think? And I'm an identical twin myself, obviously never been conjoined, and I am incredibly fortunate to have not been conjoined, because I know how complex it always is to even consider, if not try to separate conjoined twins, and just absolute kind of what the stars have in store for you about how you come into the world. So this was shortlisted for the Carnegie Medal. I'm not sure what year that was. This is published by Bloomsbury. This is an old jacket book cover. This was first published 2015. This paperback edition published 2016. So it's been around a long time. And I am slowly but surely collecting Sarah's books. I have another one here to read called Moonrise. This is another library copy. These are both lovely plastic bound library copies. That's yellow as well, like this one. And I also have, where else do I have it? Will I be able to find it? Yeah, I've got one here. Oh, I've got two here. I've also got The Weight of Water by Sarah Crossan, and I've got, it just jumped out at me, what my latest Sarah Crossan buy. which was from Chapters Bookstore in Dublin on my last visit there, is called Toffee. So I have 3 more of hers to read, but I highly recommend you picking up a Sarah Crossan and picking up one and letting me know what you think of it. Like I said, it's stuck with me all of this year and is probably one of the very top reads in this entire pile. The last fiction pick that I have picked for 2025 is Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Now I have to say, this was a hugely anticipated book to be published in 2025. Taylor Jenkins Reid has an incredible following the world over, but I had not read any of her books before this one. So this was my first Taylor Jenkins Reid read, and it really appealed to me because we follow our main character, Joan Goodwin. She is incredibly clever and she has applied to NASA to be on the space program to be part of that world. And I think NASA is such a kind of historical, mysterious, really respected entity in terms of organisation and what they have achieved over the many decades in the 20th century. This was just really enticing to see what Taylor was going to build in terms of that world for us. So we have Joan. She is embarking on her training with, as you can imagine, probably 4 or 5 others. It's no usually then a handful in terms of her cohort. And there, I'm just going to read back the characters so you can get a picture in your head. You have Top Gun pilot Hank, mission specialist John and Lydia. You have warm-hearted Donna and Vanessa Ford, the mysterious aeronautical engineer. So you have lots of different characters, lots of egos, people that have been sort of pulled together because of their amazing and different skill sets, but complementary to one another, all kind of vying for that ultimate goal to get up into space, to support that mission, for the shuttle to go up into space and come back safely. But what you have at the heart of this story is a love story between Joan and Vanessa. Sorry if there's any spoilers about to be said. But you find Joan and Vanessa, there is this sort of magnetic pull towards them. Again, no pun intended, not sorry for that one. But they live in a time, in a world, in America, in the 80s, where same-sex relationships were not allowed. They were not out in the open. They were not accepted. And especially if you were a member of staff at NASA, it was an absolute forbidden kind of territory. So you have the two of them grappling with their feelings, trying to work each other out throughout the story. They're also training to be on their mission. And this will just absolutely sweep you up, jet you off through the atmosphere and back down again, and it will pull at all of your heartstrings. So if you just want to get absolutely swept away by a novel, then this is the one for you. And this is one of my top reads again of 2025. So there you go. These, if I could hold them, these are the 6 fiction picks that I have picked that are my top reads for the year. And finally, my non-fiction pick of the year. There's only one that stands out for me, and I don't have my physical copy with me because I have loaned it to friends and family, and that is Entitled by Andrew Lowney. Andrew is a historian. He's a literary agent by profession, and Entitled has come about charting the lives of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor and Sarah Ferguson after years of research and approaching hundreds of people for factual sources. But anyway, I think it is just a really important book of our time and of the year, and what has happened in the context of it being published and all of the subsequent interest around Andrew Mountbatten Windsor and what has happened with his absolute fall from grace. in the latter months of this year. Entitled looks at both Sarah and Andrew's lives, about just how really socially, emotionally dysfunctional they both were from an early age, how they have been motivated by greed and power to manipulate those around them, the fact that they have never really been challenged to change any of their behaviours. And Entitled is rooted in fact, and is extremely eye-opening. It's extremely important, like I said, for the history books, and because no one is above reproach and the law, in whether you are a member of the British royal family or not. And there have been decades and decades of cover-ups. That's quite evident from the book. And what's the saying? When you sow the seeds and you reap what you sow, don't you? That's the saying. And I think that is exactly what's happened. And the very fact that through all of this behaviour and the lack of recourse from it, there has never been any kind of acknowledgement or admission, which is just so vital in these situations. We're all human, we all make mistakes, but to be accountable is incredibly important, and that has not happened, and I doubt that will. And the fact that King Charles has taken the actions that he has in stripping Andrew of his titles, I think will have to suffice in acknowledgement of that, and the truths and the facts that are out there, and I don't think are going anywhere anytime soon. So I know I've kind of ended this video on quite a heavy note, but if you are interested in the British royal family, or you are interested in I guess contemporary issues that have been in the news the last few years, especially maybe the last decade at least, in terms of Virginia Giuffre and Epstein and other issues connected to Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, then I highly recommend you picking up a copy of Entitled by Andrew Lowney, because you will learn new things, you will sit there flabbergasted, and you, like me, I think hopefully will be thankful that that book exists in the world. So anyway, I shall wrap this video up here, but before I do, I'm just going to say a big thank you to all of you. So that leaves me with saying a big thank you to all of you who have watched my videos through this year. I appreciate each and every one of you. I hope you have enjoyed the range of content that I have shared here on my channel. And if you just happen to be stopping by for the first time, I would love you to return. So please hit the subscribe button so you know when I post a future video, if this video has appealed to you. And if you have liked this video, please hit the like button. It just helps others find my video too, so we can share the bookish love together. And if you are already subscribed, make sure you hit the notification bell so you never miss out on any of my future videos, because I usually post a new video every Monday at 6 p.m. GMT, but I do from time to time post bonus videos in between, and I also post shorts as well, so take a look over there if you are short for time and don't want to commit to watching a whole full-length video of mine. But anyway, I shall wrap up here. I am off to see The Housemaid now at the movies, so I shall share what I think on my channels, probably my Instagram more so than other channels, so take a look over there as well. That's Linger Longer with Books. But anyway, I need to drink my coffee, I need to get some socks and shoes on and head off. So I hope you're all doing well. I hope you've all got a lovely book on the go at the moment. I'm just about to start Kate and Frida by Kim Fay, because that looks like a perfectly like heartwarming, feel good story to start 2026 with. That sounds weird to say, but there we go. That is life, and that is time, and time waits for no man. So again, with that in mind, I shall wrap up here, but take care, and I shall see you in my next video. Bye.